I'm so fascinated by the character of Ravan, and even how characters are portrayed in Indian myths. And what I want to ask you over here is that, so with the character of Ravan, I heard your podcast about on Sarekama, where you talked about him as a character, and you actually looked at what some scholars have said and what other scholars have said in depicting Ravan in the character he was. And if you look at some myths, they would clearly put a distinction between what is actually good, and that's the purest way someone should be, and what's evil, and that evil person wouldn't do anything that's good. But what at least I see, and maybe you can correct me here, is that with Ravan, he's a sage. He's someone who's very knowledgeable, someone who's a priest, someone who doesn't particularly only he doesn't only take Sita away because of his, let's say, lust for Sita, or something along those lines. It's because he wants revenge or something like that. The essence I want to talk to you here is that, are the myths right in showing it in this way, that even someone who is depicted as evil can do right? And what I mean by right is, let's say, worship, read, be knowledgeable, maybe some things that we would find valuable in society.
See, one major difference in Indian mythology and Indian mythology, Greek mythologies on one side, and the Abrahamic myths on the other side is, we don't have a direct difference in, let's say, a god and a devil, right? A god is all good and a devil is everything bad. Whatever you can think of, you can put it in the devil. In our myths, we do not have a devil. There is no devil replica in our myths. No. And the logic is very simple. There isn't any evil person per se, okay? Because evil is within all of us. You're not 100% good, right? You're not 100% evil. There is a shade of you which makes you do something wrong at some point of time. And I think the author, when he conceived Ramayana, when he created this character of Ravan, must have given that aspect here to say that, look, he's a nice guy. He is a nice guy. He's knowledgeable. He's adept in music. He's a devotee of Lord Shiva. Okay. He's very, very strong. And the fact that we used to say, Sone ki Lanka, okay, doesn't mean every walls were made of stone, of gold. It just meant that people were happy. There was people didn't have any problem. People were just absolutely happy in his regime. That's what we call Sone ki Lanka, which means everything was hunky dory, right? Here is a man who was also much older, much stronger, but had one problem in him, and that is his arrogance, right? So, and is arrogance something that is only found in let's say, asuras? Is arrogance only found in certain set of people? Arrogance can be found in anybody, right? So here, when we look at Ravan as a character, we are seeing a lot of good things in him, and then we are also seeing an arrogance in him. And in our culture, okay, arrogance has been seen as a major vice. Look at any of our heroes. They're not arrogant. But arrogance is such a major problem in our culture that we always say, be careful, don't get arrogant. Because I think that is a bigger vice than any of the wrongs that you can do. But let's look at it from a different perspective. We've seen a lot of Hindi films, okay, wherein when the hero's sister is insulted, hero goes and avenges and literally runs amok, even kills, and we are very happy at the end of it, clapping. When the hero avenges his sister's insult or sister's murder, we love it, right? What exactly did Ravan do when Shurpanakha's nose was cut? He got angry, right? He got angry and he says, okay, wait, you did this to me, I'm going to do something to you, right? So till that stage, I don't think anybody was upset. It's only when the matter goes up to a kind of force, a kind of not accepting the fact that he's up against a formidable force who can defeat him, is when things go wrong. And when everybody comes and tells Ravan that you're making a very, very big mistake, you've actually committed a crime by kidnapping somebody's wife, is something that he's not willing to accept. His brothers die, his sons die, but he's not willing to accept. I think the evil is that part of it. The evil is that I can't be defeated. The evil is I am right. And I think that's what the author is trying to create. So yes, we can see that despite all the good qualities, he still had one major fault. And this is a very, very common thread in all the mythologies of the world, that the hero has a fault. The hero is flawed. That is what makes the hero a problem. And that is what probably brings him down. Like the Achilles heel, in the Greek mythology, you have the concept of Achilles, though he's a hero, but that Achilles heel is to be seen as a flaw. It's not to be seen as a physical deformity or a physical vulnerability. That's not how Achilles heel is to be seen. It's a flaw. And remember, myths are full of flawed heroes. And that's what makes the character so endearing and so believable and so relatable. Why? Because his flaw is such a human flaw, right? And I think the whole character Ravan that was designed or made by Valmiki is such an interesting character, So despite all his knowledge of music, of the Vedas, it is also believed that one of the versions of Ramayana even says that when Ram needed to do a yajna, before heading towards the war, he didn't get a Brahmin Pandit out there. What does he do? It's actually Ravan who comes and does it for him, according to one version, knowing fully well that he is performing a yajna for his enemy to vanquish his own self. See, there are different versions which bring in very, very different angles here. And these kind of stories only go on to reinforce certain values, certain aspects. So yes, definitely it was a mistake to kidnap somebody's wife.
When we're looking, sorry again.
Yeah, go ahead.
When we are looking at that particular version of the Ramayana, when you're talking about when Ravan comes and does the yajna for Ram, like what's the essence that the writer is trying to put forward here? Is that maybe is duty like so superior, like your duty as a priest, as a sage, so superior that you will bear any consequence, even if that is your own death or your own?
No. So it's a function that I cannot say no to, right? So if I'm a teacher and
it's like the Kshatriyas.
Yeah. So if I'm a teacher and I'm asked to teach, that's my basic function. I cannot say, okay, I can't teach if there are so few students in the class. So I'll only teach when there are 100 students in the class, and if there are 30, I'm not teaching. No, that's not the job of a teacher. You cannot say no, you'll only teach when there are 100 students. So, he was adept in the knowledge of yajnas. So when he's approached, he can't say no. And he didn't say no, he came and he did it and he went back. See, that also shows the confidence in the man that despite all the things that I do, I will do this job for you. Though you're an enemy, I will do it for you. So I think there are different ways of looking at these stories. There are different interpretations that you can draw at. And as I said, this is one of the versions. This is not necessarily a very popular version, but it's a version nonetheless. And somebody decided to put that element in it. And it brings in a very different aspect of Ravan here. And if you see, there's another, which is a very common story in Valmiki Ramayana, that when Ravan is dying, he says that, look, I have this huge knowledge of administration, which will go with me. I'm dying right now. Somebody take it. And it is believed that, Ram tells Lakshman that I think you should take it from him. And, he goes, Lakshman, the haughty, arrogant, and he goes and says, yes, bolo kya bolna hai? And Ravan says, that's not how you will ever learn in life. And then Ram goes, he folds his hand and he says, yes, I'm willing to listen. And it is believed that Ravan imparted that entire concept of able administration, which is known as Sone ki Lanka. So you see, even dying moments, Valmiki has made sure that the villain, is shown in a good light. I mean, look at the balance. Look at the well-made balance of a character. Though he's a villain, there are so many shades of heroism, even in Ravan.